here with another review, this time of the indie restaurant management simulator game, PlateUp. PlateUp is a game that's extremely similar in gameplay to Overcooked, if you've heard of that, where you run a restaurant to hopeful success. You can cook and serve dishes, clean your restaurant, as well as design and decorate it for my aesthetic lovers, and curate the ultimate chef experience. So the first section I'm going to be talking about in this review is the recipes. So when you first start your restaurant, or rather when you first start off in your headquarters, you only have the steak recipe as the main dish, but you will quickly unlock the salad and pizza recipes as well. The steaks aren't incredibly hard to make and serve, but believe me when I say the customers are extremely picky and will even make the steaks seem like an impossible job. After you choose your city layout and recipe by adding the blueprints to the board, you can head out to your new restaurant and get started on earning some cash. As you progress through the days, you will earn gold and be able to purchase new items in between work shifts. Personally, I recommend staying away from the research table and prioritizing your plates first, then counters, and then hobs. But if you are doing the steak recipe, maybe the hobs before the counters. It just depends on how things are going for you. But don't forget to save important blueprints you may need next turn that you can't currently afford in your filing cabinet. This is something I found out about on my latest attempt of PlateUp, and honestly, it's a game changer. As well as the blueprints, you need to stay on top of your restaurant layout because that actually does play a big factor in how fast you're able to deliver food to tables. So one thing that I like to do before I start playing any day in PlateUp is go through the entire restaurant and test out if I can get around all the tables, and then also move them around. In the country map restaurant option 2, I think it is, which is the one that you're seeing here in the footage right now, I did rearrange the tables a little bit to where there's one at the very far back, and then there's one sort of more towards the door off area, and that actually does work quite well for this layout. It gives me enough room to add a third table when I get the blueprint for that. And the kitchen in this restaurant is also quite expansive, but in some of the other restaurants is not as expansive, so you also have to be careful with what you have in your kitchen, because as you progress through the days, you're going to need more and more space, as I discussed with the blueprints, with the counters and the hobs, and even the plate counters. You're just going to need a lot more space for, so you're going to have to be really careful to make sure you have everything arranged optimally. I like to keep my fridge as close to the hobs as possible if I'm doing a steak recipe, and if I'm doing the steak salads recipes, then I like to keep my lettuce and tomatoes as close to a big row of counters as I can. Also, another tip or suggestion that I have for this is keeping a counter kind of close to the area where you go out of the doors into the main restaurant, because you can keep a plate of food that's already ready there. That way when you give the customers a plate of food, and let's say it's a party of say 3 and you need to go get the other 2 plates before you run out of time, then the plates are right there in the little room off of the restaurant and you don't run out of time, which I know I certainly have done a few times, because those customers are incredibly picky and their time limits are not very good. Which brings me to my next tip if you are playing this game. So with the customers, the thing is you really need to take the customers one at a time. So you don't get that many customers in a day, but when they do start coming in kind of all at once, you've really got to stay on top of things. So as soon as a customer comes in, you need to instantly have some backup meals prepped and ready to go. And then you also need to pretty much instantly after they make their decision, ask them what it is that they want from the menu. Because honestly, it's really necessary to get them in and out of there as quickly as possible. And the only thing I will say about this though is if you have like 2 different new sets of customers come in at once. So let's say you have 1 person at one table and 2 people at another, you're only going to want to go up to the table of 1 first and then deal with the table of 2 after you get the table of 1 completely done and they're like walking out of the restaurant. Because if you start them on the ticking timer of like them wanting their food to be served to them, that timer goes way faster than the timer of them waiting for you to come and take their order. And the timer, if they have like like a multiple people party is like way shorter than the timers for everything else. Like you literally have like, I think it's like 15 seconds or something to go grab the other plate and run it back and give it to the other person in the party. So like seriously, you've got to be careful with your time management in this because it can be really bad if you aren't. Which brings me to another point of PlateUp. So I know that Overcooked is considered a semi-stressful game, and honestly I would say that PlateUp is much more stressful than Overcooked, because at least with Overcooked, if you pass the level with just like 1 star or 2 stars, that's like acceptable. Like obviously you're going for like the 3 stars and unlocking the like bonus levels and stuff. But with PlateUp, if you fail on any score even once, your whole restaurant gets shut down and you have to start all over again. So it's really imperative that you do not fail at all, and that kind of perfection is just really hard to achieve, especially when you're new to the game like I am, or at least it is hard for me. And that does kind of ding the overall score just a bit, just because this game is so stressful. I feel like it could really stress someone out quite quickly. As for art style, I'm not going to ding PlateUp too much on the fact that there's no character customization, because if you're playing PlateUp, you're probably not playing it for character customization, so I'm not going to ding it too much on that. But for people that are like me that do love customizing their little characters, just be warned, you're going to be a colored human-shaped blob, and there's really nothing you can do about that. But as for the art style itself, I will say it's pretty cute. I like that it's a little bit cartoony in nature, and I feel like the like countertops and like blueprints and stuff, once you build them in, are actually pretty detailed considering. And this game is kind of in beta. It's like not actually in beta, but it's still on like 1.2 as of me recording this, so it's pretty early on in its access to Steam. And honestly, I would still give it a 4 out of 5, probably, maybe 3 out of 5 if you don't do well with handling stress. But I mean, it's a pretty cute little game, and it's honestly on sale quite often, so you can pretty much always get it for pretty cheap. And I do enjoy playing it. It's kind of a fun little game to just play every once in a while, sort of like you would do with like Candy Crush on your phone. And I honestly do kind of enjoy it. So yeah, that is my final review, is 4 out of 5, and then maybe 3 out of 5 if you get easily stressed out by games. But yeah, that's about it for today. If you guys have enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in future videos and reviews. Bye bye!